أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعلني وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي اشدد به أزري وأشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Hope you're all having a good Sunday, inshallah. So we're going to continue, inshallah, with the raise, the supreme sign, and the first chapter. So just a brief recap of what we're studying. This is the story of a traveler, but just like you and myself, everybody, as we are traveling in this world and understanding what this universe has to offer in our living, in our journey in this world. And we've been through many stages. And as the last stage that we spoke about and we discussed was at the, what was it, the 16th degree of witnessing. And that was mostly about the necessity of prophethood or messengership. That's the one who is administering in charge of the universe. Whoever made me, whoever made the universe must employ someone who must convey his message, or the one who can bring me back to him to make me realize that he is the one who is taking care of me, who is the one who is in charge of administering everything in this world, every experience that I go through. So whatever is in this universe is a witness and is glorifying him. So everything that goes out of this universe is nothing but a recognition or a praise or a prayer towards the source of this universe. So we are going to continue in the next station as we go along and journey it together with all of you friends here. So this is the next one, the tireless and insatiable traveler who knew the aim of life in this world and the essence of life to be faith, addressed his own heart and said, "Let us examine the book known as the Qur'an of Miraculous Exposition, which is said to be the work and utterance of the being whom we are seeking, the most famous, the most brilliant, and wisest book in the world, that issues a challenge in every age to whoever refuses to submit to it. Let us see what it says. But first, we must establish that this book is from our Creator." And he began to search. All right, so moving along from the time of the prophethood, where, as we were discussing last time, and seeing the necessity of a teacher to teach us what our purpose in life here is. Now this traveler, just like you and me, is still looking. So he is tireless. He doesn't get tired. It's always is. His attitude is always very progressive to look for the meaning and purpose in one's life, which I think we should all adhere to, inshallah. So tireless and insatiable traveler, just always on the search and really looking for it in an active form. So now he knows that the aim of life in this world and the essence of life is belief to him, that realizing about whatever he is witnessing to, whatever in the universe points to the necessary existence of a unique and absolute one. So now he is looking into his own feelings and he says, what about the message that is coming from the source of my existence? Or just like we studied about the prophethood as the teacher, so now is the book of, or the Quran, which, or the message that this teacher brought. So now let's examine that work of the Quran of Miraculous Exposition, which is said to be the word and utterance of the being whom we are seeking. So it is said to be the word of the being that we are always looking for, we are seeking, the most famous, the most brilliant, and wisest book in the world that issues a challenge. So it's an interesting book that issues a challenge in every age to whoever refuses to submit to it. Let us see what it says. That's a good point. Let us see what it says. But first, we must establish that this book is from our Creator and He began to search. So just wants to establish that, don't take it for granted that the book is from the source of the universe, but let's investigate and see that this book is indeed from our Creator and He began to search. Since the traveler lived in the present age, he looked first at the Risale-i Nur, flashes from the miraculousness of the Quran. Man, this guy is amazing. The first thing he encounters is looking at something that is addressing the real human needs, or this, a book that conveys the message of the Quran, flashes from the miraculousness of the Quran. So something that conveys the real, as a follow up to what the Prophet is also teaching, and as he went over, but we can investigate further. But these are some of the thoughts that are coming to my mind, that that's interesting that the first guidance is not some other book, but something that has to do with the reality of a human being and the existence of a human being. So he saw its 130 parts to consist of luminous points drawn from that book of discernment, or well-founded explanations of its contents. So points drawn from that book of discernment. So the Quran is getting a definition of the book of discernment, or well-founded explanations of its contents. Even though the Risale-i Nur is valiantly struggling to diffuse the truths of the Quran in all directions, in this obstinate and atheistic age, no one can defeat it, which proves that its master, its source, its authority, and its son is the Quran. Heavenly, not human speech. Is the Quran heavenly, not human speech? Among the hundreds of proofs in the different parts of the Risale-i Nur, the single proof contained in the 25th word and the end of the 19th letter establishes 40 aspects of the Quran's miraculousness in such a way that whoever sees it, far from uttering any criticism or objection, admires its arguments and utters appreciative praise. Whoever sees it, far from uttering any criticism or objection, admires its arguments and utters appreciative praise. The traveler left it to the Risale-i Nur to prove that the Quran is miraculous and the true word of God, turning only to a brief indication of a few points showing its greatness. First point, just as the Quran with all its miracles and truths, indicating its veracity, is a miracle of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, so too Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, with all his miracles, proofs of prophethood and perfections of knowledge, is a miracle of the Quran and a decisive proof of the Quran's being the word of God. So let me read that again. Just as the Quran, with all its miracles and truths indicating its veracity, is a miracle of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, so too Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, with all his miracles, proofs of prophethood, and perfections of knowledge, is a miracle of the Quran and a decisive proof of the Quran's being the word of God. So that's an interesting first point of how the author is presenting it, basically as the Quran and the Muhammad both being a miracles of each other. I would like to understand a little bit more how they play together as a miracle to each other. So I see that the second part, Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, with all his miracles, of course, his miracles were supported by the Lord of the universe, and which to establish his proof of prophethood. And that becomes a miracle of the Quran. How so is my question, and a decisive proof of Quran being the word of God. So the Quran with all its miracles, so whatever the message that the Quran brings, the meaningful side of the Quran, the way it talks to me, truths indicating its veracity, and that is a miracle of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. So all that necessitates that we studied kind of that the message entails that somebody or the universe also, everything that is in the universe entails that there must be a teacher who must convey and propagate the message that the whole universe, everything in creation is stating or is bringing. So there is this necessity of the teacher. But how does it become a miracle of Muhammad is my question. And also, I mean, I have like a rough ideas on how, as I'm talking right now, but I would love to hear your comments on how do you understand this point about the Quran being a miracle and with the Prophet being a miracle as well. So both of them necessitating and being a miracle to each other. Would anybody would like to speak on that?
I would like to hear your voice first.
You would like to hear me first? Okay, Brother Ali. So just as I was kind of talking about as a traveler, as a human being in this world, I observe the universe and I want to understand the meaning of those things. And as I always look for the one who made this has a responsibility towards each and every being, each and every conscious one to communicate and tell me and what he means. But of course, I understand that when I realize what existence means, I understand that it is not from the universe. So it must be not of the nature of the universe. Something must be absolute, but somehow this absolute being must convey to me what, his message, what he means, why did he make me, why did he create me, and he must necessarily employ means, vehicles for me to understand what my purpose is. And that's why there is the need for the universe, there's the need for the teacher, and that's why there's the need of the messengership. And this messengership must bring the news and the message from him, which is what the miracle of Muhammad, as I understand it to be, is. So whoever is in charge brings a teacher, and this teacher is not an ordinary teacher. is the teacher that talks to me and practices whatever is the message or being conveyed by the owner of the universe, whoever is the absolute one, and that the meaning behind it, the message that he brings, is what the teacher is representing. And so it acts as sort of a miracle for me to understand that this speech and this communication, this message meaning is coming from my source of existence. That is what messengership or the miracle of Muhammad would entail. That's one part. So, Brother Ali, please go ahead.
What is the second part? Sorry.
Second part is that whoever is presenting it is also supported and is showing the way that he's acting is also a miracle of the one who employed him, so that it jives in a way, it works together in harmony, that it also does messengership should bring me back to him again. But Brother Ali, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. So I wanted to understand this matter with a very simple example, which I love giving simple example if I could. So, for example, if a man who is just a farmer, has never been educated, never been to any school, anything, he says, coming to other people, or let's say to me, and saying that, look, the very famous Nobel Prize winner, biologist or chemist, told me this formula, this formula, just gave it to me, and if the people really try it, they will understand that it perfectly works, and this is something they call it nowadays innovative. I mean, yeah, as far as the message of the Quran is concerned, because the analogy goes to the Quran, so it is innovative. And people try, think about it, put it into practice, etc. Oh, it perfectly works. So this man is proving in this way that he has received this message, this formula from the Nobel Prize winner. I mean, whatever it is, Nobel Prize winner does not necessarily mean that the most successful man. It means the hardest working man of the time, maybe politically supported as well. That's why he won it. It is not very always impartial. Now, mostly there is a political agenda behind it, as well as I can see. Anyways, not always, but generally speaking, that is out of our concern now for the moment. But for the sake of example, it doesn't guarantee that whoever wins the Nobel Prize doesn't mean that he is on the uh, bringing up to the attention of the people the truth. No, maybe, may not be. Anyways, so, but and a farmer, and he has been born in a village, never been out of his village, and he has never seen any education system, and he has not really received any training or education from anybody, comes up with this formula that only the most advanced uh, person of the age can only present this. Even the other experts on the subject doesn't know that. It definitely proves that this man is not telling the truth. Now, in other aspect, when the people put this formula into practice, oh, it works. So because this formula works, proves that this is from this person. It's a Nobel Prize winner. They call it something Nobel, no, what was it? Nobel winners, they are called something in English.
Laureate or something.
Laureate, yeah. This is from the laureate. Thank you. Now, one side of it. But at the same time, this farmer comes and brings other formulas that presents to the people other formulas that he is, or that these formulas, or I don't know what is the plural form of it, formula, I would say it. The other formula also work, all of them. And what does it mean? He is proving that this laureate is a righteous man. And he taught him, but at the same time, although I haven't heard anything from him, let's say, assume for the sake of the example, but my presentation of the formula and demonstration of it proves that this person who is claimed to be the source of this formula is really the expert on the subject. That is how they each of them confirm it. But one thing is somehow historically people question, what is that? The miracles that the prophet performed is questioned. Why? Not because saying that, no, the creator of the universe cannot create miracles, miracles do not have any reality, etc. I always keep saying this, the whole universe, everything in the universe is a miracle. So the owner of these miracles can create anything. So in order to just demonstrate that this person who claims to be the messenger, appointed messenger of the owner of the universe, creator of the universe, the people wouldn't believe in him. Why? I am sent by the creator of the universe. Come on, man. I mean, rightly, as the Quran depicts the picture brilliantly, it's that you are a man like everybody else. You are a needy, poor, originally uneducated, untrained person. What's the special thing that the creator of the universe will employ you, choose you? They don't know the reason why the creator of the universe should have used it, because their criterion is according to their cultural values. If you like, nowadays, although Mecca didn't have any civilization, that's just a tribal life. That's the tribal civilization, if you like. But today's language, these people didn't have any civilization, and but the way of life, in their way of life, they have some values. What are they? The lineage of the person must be highly regarded. It means dignified, noble lineage, according to the acceptance of the people. And this person must be rich, wealthy, so that it will be a sign that he is a successful man. And what else? Well, he may be, within the context of Mecca life, he may be somehow talented in poetry, so that it will show that he is really a cultured man, person, could be women as well. And look at Muhammad at that time. His lineage somehow noble, going to uh, Abdul Muttalib, uncle, from there, not from his father. No one cares about his father. So his uncle, Abu Talib, he was a noble man, honest man, regarded, highly regarded chieftain of Meccan tribal life. So he helped a lot, by the way, the mission of his nephew, Muhammad. Okay. But from his own lineage, he is an orphan. He's nobody. Poetry-wise, the talent for poetry-wise, he was nothing. And richness, he was a shepherd. You can imagine. According to their values, he cannot be a prophet. Look, we have to be honest and we have to be just. Within the context of this society, if I was a member of this society, impartial mentality, still I would not believe in this man. We have to understand this. I would not say, oh yeah, you are excellent man, because you say you are an honest man. Okay, trustworthy, they call it. Trustworthy man, you never told us lie, but it doesn't guarantee that from one point onwards, you will never call lie again. You are a human being. I know that. So you may have some delusions or something and start claiming something. It is possible, humanly possible. We have to admit their criticism or rejection of the claim within the context of their cultural values. So they were hesitant. Of course, they were hesitant, and they were right. What the prophet was given and necessarily must have been given, and he was given miracles. Somebody may say, oh, the Quran, this is a very famous saying. There is Quran. Excuse me? There were no Quran. There were no book that time. Only fragments of sentences here and there. But the sentences were very powerful in meaning, in content. Very new things are presented, and also literal value was peerless. What? Something striking. That is the miraculous side of the Quran, which the text mentions. Miraculous Quran. In his what? First of all, in his content. But that time, content was not really available for the people. But the power of poetry, it means eloquence, was really powerful. Yes, when you read the first reduced in the course of time because corrupted with this corrupted civilization, effect of the secular civilization. The words, the vocabulary really lost their detailed description of the things. The language became more and more simplistic rather than becoming more and more developing and, but borrowing from each other, that is something else. But for example, according to the life standards of those people, a date. I mean, I can tell you that while I'm studying something to do with the hadith and Quran narrations, but especially hadith narrations, almost every day I come up with a new word for a different description of date. For example, one of them was just striking. Yesterday I learned a date which is ripe, sorry, which is not ripe, which is, what's that? Which is not ripe is? Raw. No, no. Is it raw?
Yeah, yeah, raw.
Raw. Yeah. Yes, raw date. If it is a little bit started getting yellowish, it is another meaning. If it didn't get yellowish, it is another meaning. According to they named their wine different meaning. What? In other words, means this is squeezed out of raw date. This wine has different meaning. This is squeezed from a little bit yellowish colored date. This date of the name is different, and the wine, the name of the wine is different. And if it is made up dried, if made of dried date, it is a different name for the dried date, and the alcohol or the wine is different, etc., etc. But that time was the most powerful, the peak of the eloquence of the poetry that time. That's what they say. The experts say. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I'm just repeating what I read. So Quran was incomparably beyond the quality of this poetry, coming from the mouth of an illiterate, never exercised poetry before. Even his most closest friend, Abu Bakr, and I always laugh at it. The Prophet Muhammad himself, after the prophethood, he wanted to say some poetry, some poems. Abu Bakr said, please, Muhammad, stop. You are really spoiling the value of Arabic poetry. You cannot do it, forget about it. That is an interesting narration. When I say, oh, this man cannot be a poet at all. Even his most closest, let's call it most closest friend, as it is narrated in historically, friend says you cannot make of a poem, forget about poet, forget about it. So it is obvious that it is beyond his capacity. That is the miraculous side of the matter, the language of the Quran. And also content was completely new. Those people who really were careful about it, this man is speaking something new. But never forget, Meccan people didn't have the background of really there are prophets, etc. And the prophets receive revelation from God. Only an intellectual cream of the society, those people who have international, according to them, international. I mean, today's international is completely different concept, but that time between maybe the Hijaz area of Arabia and Yemen and Damascus on the top, that's it. And some people used to go to buy things produced in India, China, on the eastern part of the world, and they bring their commercial merchandise to Syria, and there is a city next door, close to somewhere between, I think, I don't remember the name, looks like the name of a city in Iraq, somewhere there. That was the actually commercial center historically of the area. People used to bring the things from India, and the merchants of Hijaz period, including Mecca, used to go there and buy from them. They have never been to China, etc. I mean, this kind of things beyond that. But they have been on the coastal side of the Arabian Peninsula, Yemen, Amman, and nowadays Gulf countries, they are called. These Gulf countries, they know that, but they heard something that there are people who are talking about the prophet or religion and some religious values and documents they didn't know revealed by God, but they have some sort of books. But Mecca didn't have anything. That was easy for the Prophet Muhammad in order to convey his mission in Medina, because people knew Jewish people there. They are familiar with the concepts of revelation, concepts of book, messengers, God, and highly the Medinan Jewish people were uh, impossible to compare the civilization wise. One of them is still living in, that's mud-made houses. The other one had very, how do you say, castles, something like the Jewish civilization in Taif, and there. They had their own castles. But this Arab said only their tent are simple mud-made, simple square rooms. They were only, this is the house they had. And some of them did have two-story, two layers of houses. It means two floors houses. Some of them, humans live it on the top and the animals live it on the bottom. This kind of, the most highly developed civilization was this, architect was this of the country. That's what the history narrates. Anyways, so the Prophet Muhammad, in his life, it was necessary for the people. He should present miracles like Jesus, because people would not take him seriously. Not only the message, people didn't know what he was talking about, but something strange. But the value of the poetry of the Quranic message or the verses of the Quran was really attractive. But the content, they didn't know what is it talking about. But the attitude of the Prophet was interesting because he was treating all people equally. That is inevitable for a person who claims to be the messenger of God. First, he must treat people equally. It means the first and most important value is not oneness of God. What is that? Equality, justice in the society, taking care of the needs of the poor people. That was something very interesting and striking, and the poor people, especially the slaves, really felt it in their hearts, saying, I can imagine this. If I was a slave, if a person comes, your master and are, in fact, both human beings together, women and men are in fact, both human beings equal, where the women and slaves are treated like animals. They were not counted at all. Not only Arabian Peninsula, all the pagan Europe, which is called the cradle of civilization, Athene, whatever you call it, however you call it, slaves and women didn't have any right. They were not even counted as human beings, numbers. They had no word to say in the society. That is not what Islam says. No, their own history says. So we have to understand this common trend, which is worldwide spread and practiced, were rejected. Everybody in the message of the Prophet Muhammad, everybody is equal and they're created by God as human beings. That was to my understanding and interpretation personally, That was the most striking message that the Muhammad والسلام, presented to them, to the people. And it was the, I think, most effective, uh, what is this, motive behind taking the message seriously. That is very important for us as well now. Yes, oneness of God, all right, in this society that where we are living and in the Western world or westernized world, so we have the same Western culture's values. The first thing, before saying that God is one, the first thing, what is important to say that God is something absolute, infinite, etc. It is important, of course, but we have to be followers, supporters, and practice in our life justice with everyone, to every creature. We have to be respectful to human beings. Yes, we have to be respectful to animals. Yes, we have to respectful to plants. Not because useful for us, we have to respectful to any ordinary creature which is inanimate being. A piece of stone, even, is what I have to be respectful to. And I have to say, this stone has the right to exist as a stone. If I need to clean it and do something in order to demonstrate its existence as a really influential, as an important source of sign, demonstrating, for example, get a piece of marble and see the beauty in it. And a small piece, people pay $2,000 just to put on their counter in the kitchen. Why? Because of the beauty. Ah, how this beauty, attractive beauty, can come into existence accidentally. That is designed. So we have to pay respect to it and really give value to it because of the message it brings, not because the benefit it gives to me. Message it brings. Message what? Deliberate act of creation is manifested in it. These are the things we have to be very careful about. Unfortunately, we may not, but uh, it doesn't mean that the value of oneness of God is not important. No, this is the, if you like, uh, stepping stone from where we have to start establishing justice in my life. Anyway, I am speaking a lot. What was the point? Miracles has had to be given to the prophet. Now we don't need it. Why? The Quran is here. That is why people, the certain attitude among the Muslim civilization, legacy, if you like, heritage from the beginning, because of Christianity, exaggerated in valuing the Jesus's uh, message, they went so far that they said even either he is God or he's just God's son, or I mean one of the Trinity, three aspect of God. This kind of interpretations frightened people of that time, and nowadays still continuing. Everybody is very sensitive about some sort of showing your respect and love for the prophet. They become alerted. Hey, just a minute, don't go further. Like Christians. Of course they are right. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that I should never love the prophet who brought the message to me. So that within this love, the people around the prophet, ignorant people, uneducated people, put their trust in him because of these miracles primarily. Miracles, see this especially in Medina. But in Mecca, not much miracle is narrated as far as I know. If someone knows, please let me know. But in Medina, lots of miracle. When the social life was established in Medina and the relationship with a huge number of people, so these people came and joined the Medina administration. They needed what? But they don't know what the message is. It's a message is there, but most of them even don't know Arabic language, or even they don't know what the Quran is talking about. Really, it is a very high level of uh, balagha, I mean, eloquence, literature value, and also the concepts in their mind has not developed yet. The Quran introduced the concept, they didn't know. So what they hear now, first of all, what they see, the practice of the Prophet is peerless. Huh? None of the chieftains, the kings of that time, he was the leader of Medina community or administration. Now it became an administration center. I mean, nowadays they are called states. In Islam there is no state, so it is arguable to use this word, but administration, yes. So administering the affairs of the society. As the leader, responsible person of this institution, Medina establishment, administration, he was just an ordinary man. That was really, that meant everything. We have to understand this. To the people, what? According to them, he is the chieftain, he is the king of Medina administration, according to them. But they have never seen any king who is imposing his power, who is imposing his, I don't know, knowledge, who is imposing his authority as the chieftain of the community. No, he is just advising people, going to his one-room house, and practicing what the message he is delivering to the people. Consistent, perfectly consistent. For example, I mean, you all know that it's a very simple historical information. Marx wanted to produce a counter theory in economic, to a certain extent, administrative side of the states against capitalist system. He offered a system. Theoretically, it works. I believe that theoretically it works. I mean, within its theory, it is consistent, right? But practically, it is completely against human nature. And he was he belonged to a bourgeois society, so he lived, even he didn't practice in his life. You can imagine. He wanted to start a revolution in the world, which didn't even work for himself. Can you imagine? Let alone for the society. It never worked anywhere. Those people claimed to be, and they were attracted by the consistency within itself, the consistency of the theory within itself attracted people, but at the same time, in practical terms, it never worked. Never. In anywhere, including the founder of the theory, did not follow it. So the case was completely diametrically opposite in the case of Muhammad. That was another miracle for the people. So miracles are extremely important, although in Islamic tradition, later on, the importance of miracles became weaker and weaker, and at the end, really is not worth narrating it because Islam is an established religion now. It is practiced with a large number of people, and the way the message, which is the core backbone of the administration or the system, is so obvious that it really presents the truth, reality, approved, confirmed by the reality of the universe as it exists now. And human nature definitely confirms it. And perfectly, uh, this message is appropriate to the requirements of the human being. So, human nature. So, the value of miracles diminished. At the end, the people started rejecting even the narrations of the miracles. Do you understand this mentality? It is justifiable. The miracles of Muhammad, for me, is not affecting my acceptance of his message. But at the same time, I should not deny the miracles of Jesus as well as the miracles of Muhammad. Why should I deny? First of all, the people around him narrated these miracles, but those people who were mostly concerned with the narration of the acts and sayings, actions and sayings and practical life of the Prophet Muhammad, they were not really crazy about narrating the miracles that they have seen and experienced with the Prophet Muhammad, because they were not really concerned very much about the miracles after becoming convinced that he's a messenger of God. They were paying attention to the message itself. That's why miracles are narrated. For example, a person said, this happened there were 50 people there, 100 people there, 500 people there. This happened. Okay. But there are only, let's say, five narrations about it. Five people narrated it. Or the people say, okay, if there were 1,000 people there, it must be narrated by 1,000 times by 1,000 different people. This doesn't make sense, because my silence, if I see something miraculous and as a believer, I keep my belief, I don't fall into hesitation. This miracle confirms my trust in Muhammad's message and Muhammad himself. And my silence is confirmation. That's what we have to understand. I don't have to narrate it. First of all, not many people were really taking the task of narration around the Prophet Muhammad. Only a few, which are called mostly Ashab al-Sufa and some close friends of Muhammad. Apart from these people, the others were just following the message, doing as much as they can, practicing the message of Muhammad and following the pattern which is slowly developing within that society. We have to imagine this or visualize it in our imagination. People, whatever they learn from the close friends of the Prophet, close circle of the Prophet, whatever they see in public while they are going somewhere together For example, they went together to Tabuk. More than 10,000. Historians said 30,000. It is impossible as compared to the population of Hijaz area. So it is a bit exaggeration of the historians to me. But it is around 10, maybe 12, 13,000 people. Yeah, 13,000. Yes, 12, 13. This is somehow according to the population of Medina at that time. Because Medina were just only 4,000 something population around there. But when the Islam started, people started moving, migrating into Medina. So population really increased somehow and became bigger and bigger and bigger. Anyways, so it is enlarged in the very short period of time. So 10,000 is reasonable. 10,000 men, of course, not women and children. So it is fair enough. 10,000 people, Prophet was among them. He was hiding. He was living with them. He was eating with them. No, everybody was living at night in his tent. He was living, not the tent, in the war area. It wasn't a war, by the way. I'm confusing the words. It was an, how do you say, draft, public draft going to north. It was a drill, actually. It wasn't, there was no war, anything. There was no enemy, etc. Just drilling, preparing people to be alarmed and also get ready to prevent this heritage, prophetic heritage now, the Muslim society. That is also important to keep one's Muslim identity, Islamic identity, not letting himself or herself dissolved into the our, how do you say, outside civilization. That is important to give a society its own identity. So that is why the Prophet asked them, come on, let's do a drilling if you like, but he didn't say a drill. I think apparently history says it didn't say, it's just a drill, just a fake thing. No, as if it is real. So they took arms and whatever they had, and 30 days they went up. It means it was a kind of the body demonstration, if you like. Hey, we are here, we are powerful, and we are ready to defend, and if needed, we are ready to die in order to defend this civilization, a new civilization, Islamic civilization. We have to combine all these historical events together and visualize it. In this picture, we understand that the miracles of Muhammad were absolutely necessary. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a just thing for those innocent people who were looking for the truth. I mean, reality. Not these Quraysh leaders. They were obstinate. Anyway, some of them died away. Some of them at the end, I mean, by force somehow, embraced Islam, joined the community and started becoming a part of the Muslim community. But general public needed the miracles. And why it wasn't widely narrated? Because of the fear of exaggeration and distracting the attentions of the people to the miraculous side of Muhammad and turning Muhammad into a Jesus in Christian society. Message is ignored. Now, in order to draw the people's attention to the Quran, to the message of the messenger Muhammad, so they ignored it. They ignored the miracle, the narrations of the miracles. And also, I am just wrapping up and finishing with one sentence. the narrations, 1, 2, 3 people's narrations about the event, which was a demonstration of miracles created by Allah. No, Muhammad never said, this is my miracle. Allah created it. Okay, Allah creates it. Okay, created. And the narration says there were 50 people. Why only 5 people narrate? The silence of other 45 people is confirmation of it. None of the people will say, hey, why do you say? I was there when you said in somewhere, something happened. I was there and no such thing happened. Why are you talking about it? Even the enemies of the prophet did not narrate anything that this man is just making up and just employing 1, 2 people, saying some false narrations. The people were not there and they didn't prove it. No rejection of this narration of few people of the miracle. That is important. We have to pay attention to, because this miracles of Muhammad has no value for me now. Why? The Quran is here, Islamic heritage is here, all the scholarly works on the Quran and the Hadith narrations here and there, oh, they are all available for me, and I have to have an intellectual approach to the message, not by saying that, this man demonstrated miracles, so I follow him. Not that is for me now because of my life conditions. But if I was in Mecca or Medina, if I joined the community, if I was accepted or expected, I was expected to support this civilization, new understanding, and submit myself to the leadership of Muhammad, I need to start with, to initiate my membership of this society, something very visual, so that I will be convinced that, this man is really consistent what he is claiming. Thank you for my long lecture rather than comment. I'm sorry, I know what I am doing, but that is how I am.
Alhamdulillah, thank you for being yourself. That was great, actually. A good background also, explaining. Would anybody like to share anything, or we can continue with the second point then?
Yeah, some good points were mentioned about miracles. So definitely the first addressee of Revelation or the Quran, they needed that, because how else would they take the man who's bringing the speech of God seriously? So, but now we are in a very advanced era, and I don't know, 20 years from now, it's going to be more development. So for us, you and I, in this day and age, we intellectually need to make sense of that message. And at the same time, we would look into all the resources available as well that goes or that accompanies the speech of God. And it does make sense, because like Brother Ali was saying, everything is a miracle if we think about it. Or even just baking a cake, it may seem simple, but like, hello, just like dry stuff mixed together, following a perfect order, and then something comes out. Or even soil and water, look up what kind of miracles come out of it. Colorful vegetables, fruits, and flowers. It's amazing. It's a miracle. So this was interesting. Alhamdulillah, thank you for sharing this. These were some main highlights.
Thank you as well for sharing your takeaway. Okay, so Colin Turner also has a comment. It says, wonderful historical exposition of early Medini social dynamics. these things should be published. Indeed, we need to discuss how these dynamics come into play and how actually it becomes relevant in our day and age as well. And yeah, the other thing is how, to recognize the correct message as in my day and age about the veracity or the truthfulness of the message. So one would say, yeah, at that time, even let's say if the prophet is with me right now, how would I know? Right? But the thing is, this is kind of brotherly kind of hinted and how he explained it at the first, and for you also mentioned about at the first stage and addressee, you just the simple things of everything being equal, respect of every creation is very appealing, right? How no second-class citizen, everybody is a first-class citizen in creation, in existence. I mean, you can relate that in this day and age also, how discrimination and injustice happens, but this is something that the prophet kind of brought up is as his message to attract and get everybody involved. And also there was another point I was thinking of, it's escaping my mind right now.
About narrations, maybe narrations that not everybody narrated it. I'm just saying.
No, so there were too many points there. There was also the part about the message itself, and how the prophet is not the one who is bringing that message. It's not his word. As one of the narrations or the story of with the Abu Bakr saying that this basically this is not poetry. You're not meant for poetry, but stick to whatever you are meant for, because it is a clear indication of his employment from his source of existence, that everything happens even in my life or in everybody's life is coming from the source of existence. It's not something that I am doing myself.
Mashallah, very good points. Just to add on to the point you just mentioned right now, getting mesmerized with the poetic eloquence of the Quran. It's that even the person through which the message is being delivered is also in awe of it, that you want to try to come up with some sort of poetry. So that's also another interesting mark about the message being from not a man, but from the creator of the universe delivered through a man.
Mm-hmm. All right, so shall we continue then? I think this is going to make our second and third point a little better, easier to understand, inshallah. So the second point, the Quran in this world brought about in so luminous, felicitous, and truthful a fashion a revolution in the social life of man, as well as in the souls, hearts, spirits, and intellects of men, in their individual, social, and political lives, and having caused this revolution, perpetuated it in such a fashion that for 14 centuries at every moment, its 6,666 verses have been read by the tongues of more than 100 million men, training them, refining their souls, and purifying their hearts. To spirits, it has been a means of development and advancement. To spirits, it has been a means of development and advancement. To intellects and orientation and light. To life, it has been life itself and felicity. To spirits, it has been a means of development and advancement. To intellects and orientation and light. To life, it has been life itself and felicity. Such a book is of a certainty unparalleled. It is a wonder, a marvel, and a miracle. All right, so I think this is something based on what Brother Ali said. I think we can understand this. Like the revolution in a social life of man. This is what the message is of that worth or that value in terms of it brings, solves my existential problems. It solves my purpose in life, my human dilemma. It brings about a revolution in the way I would see the world, and I have a purpose that my existence is not doomed in this world only. So that way of living is definitely a revolution is needed. Somebody, if there's a guarantee, there's all the science, the universe shows me that, and this is is highlighted to me. It's brought into my attention, and that's what the luminosity and the felicity and the way the Quran expresses itself should bring about that change in the way, my perspective in terms of living. So it does enlighten my soul, the heart, the spirit, and wakens up my intellect in every living aspect. And it is a continuous trend of how it's doing it across the ages, where every age is bringing about a revolution in their own day and age according to their conditions. To the spirits, a means of development and advancement. To intellects and orientation and light to life. It has been life itself and felicity. Such a book is of a certainty unparalleled. It is a wonder, a marvel, and a miracle. So yeah, in a culture, civilization where there is no end of, like, no purpose, no, only live like an animal in this world. Just live and then die at the end. Yeah, it brings about a purpose. So Brother Ali, I know I see your hand again. So please go ahead. Thank you.
Again means another lecture? Yeah, no, inshallah not. What is important for life, for human life? It has been felicity, let's put it, real life. It is worth living. And it should bring felicity. It should bring really pleasure to my life. But Quran is full of threat. Isn't it? Quran is full of threat. If you don't believe, but of course it is full of good news as well. It is full of bright, hard to imagine life in paradise, but it is at the same time even more. I'm sure you must have noticed the verses mentioning the hell and punishment that God will inflict on people who don't believe. The number of the verses are more than the number of the verses talk about paradise. Why? We need threatening, otherwise really we cannot really come to ourselves. But what is the problem? Those people who would say that, these people, this God presents himself as a hating God, threatening God, punishing God, it is not for me. doesn't want to look at the reality. What these verses are concentrating on. If you don't believe in God, if you don't confirm the truth, you will be leading a horrible life. But unfortunately, it is our mistake, the believers, the Muslims' mistake. Those people, Muslim means, in my definition within this context, those people who say that I believe in the Quran and I try to follow the Quran, we always talk about threatening side of the verses. Why? Because we want to frighten people so that they should behave themselves. But these words are for unbelievers. You can say to the believers, look, you can make a comparison. Put yourself into a position that there's no God, everything is accidental. You just happen to be here and you are going to go into annihilation soon. Whatever you do is not worth at the end. Transient. Yeah. Are you saying this? No. Why do you so frighten me with the verses directed to this situation? And also another very important picture, all these things are attributed to the next creation. Yes, that is correct. That is correct. They are all attributed to the next creation. But we have to read it as applicable in this life in case of in the subject of belief and unbelief. Not in my real life. I go to the market, I buy the things and enjoy eating them, and an unbeliever, disbeliever, comes to the market and buys the same things. He enjoys it as well. But the Quran says what is missing? When I, as a believer, I believe that I must categorize myself there in this side as a believer. I go there, I buy the things, I take them as an example, as a source of reflection for me, so that they will reveal to me about their creator, which kind of creator he or it must be. So in their existence, I see the absolute creator and I confirm it. So I am subject to the good news, paradise news from the Quran, because I confirmed it. Why do you narrate it to me now about the threatening verses which are directed to unbelievers? Okay, the unbelievers, they take the same thing from God's mercy, go home and eat it. They say, oh, it was wonderful, but at the end, we are just losing them continuously. And the life ends with nothing. So it is just an empty wish that I will enjoy myself temporarily, therefore empty wish. Doesn't really satisfy their human side. We don't really keep the balance. In the mosques, addressing to Muslims, narrating the verses talking about unbelievers. Huh? What are you doing, man? These are the believing people. Why are you narrating the unbeliever, the verses related to unbelief? But you can tell them, can you imagine? Quran describes, if you didn't believe in God, if you didn't believe in the hereafter, if you didn't believe in the message that God speaks to you, guides you, and rejected them, turn your back to it, you will be in this position in your human side, in your life, torturing yourself, and as well as at the end of the life, you will suffer the consequence of your belief. That is for disbelievers, not for those people who believe. Dislocation, or better word, dislocation, not properly locating. The addressee of the verses turn to people who are obsessed by threatening verses of the Quran. Don't do that. God gets angry. God gets angry with the unbelievers. This man is a mistake. Why don't you say that? Don't do this. If you do it, ask for forgiveness. Because for the believers, the door of forgiveness is presented. For the unbelievers, there is no option for forgiveness, because they cannot ask God, please forgive me. What? God, I don't believe in him. How can I ask him? So for the unbelievers, there's no, because of their unbelief. Not God doesn't forgive them. If they believe and turn to God and ask forgiveness, God guarantees that I will forgive you. Guarantees it. But turn to God. Unbelief by its nature cannot turn to God, because he doesn't believe God, so that he will go, please forgive me. No, he doesn't acknowledge it. That is why those people who don't ask for forgiveness are the unbelievers. But instead of threatening the believers, we have to encourage people to ask for forgiveness for their shortcomings, for their mistakes. With this location of the verses of the Quran turned Islam is a, if you like, horrible religion. Turns the life of the believers into hell. Why? Because believers are frightened of doing this is wrong, doing that is wrong. If you don't do it, you will directly thrown into hell, and then you will be, for example, if you will miss one time prayer. I was a child and I was told 50 years for missing one prayer, let's say Zuhur prayer. 50,000 years I will be making prostration on the burning red sheet. How do you say? The fire is underneath it. The iron became red, and I have to doing continuous prostration on it for 50,000 years. As a result of, as a child, this memory really frightened me a lot. But of course, as a child, I was missing the prayers. What does it mean? Consequently, falling into despair. How many times I missed? Oh, hundreds. 15,000 years multiplied by hundreds. Come on, I am already fallen. Forget about it. Now, we have to locate. Believers must be addressed with paradise, the news of paradise, and shortcomings must be repaired by reminding forgiveness. Unbelievers, now, if you don't believe, you will live in this life horrible, as well as horrible life in hell after you resurrected. This balance, to me, has been lost for years and years. Believers are under the subject of frightening, threatening, and using God's authority, as if all these verses are related to Muslims, believers. No, these verses uh, explain how the human life will be horrible if they don't believe in hereafter, God, the prophethood, etc. They don't believe. Practical mistakes, the door of forgiveness is open. We did not keep this balance. Unfortunately, Muslims, if you go to the mosque, no one's face is smiling. Everybody is sober, like, oh. If you just Salaam alaikum, wa alaikum salam, brother. I am a very sinful man. I lost. That is despair, no hope, no excitement, no cheer. Now, have you seen anyone who is laughing in the mosque? Laughing. No. If you see someone crying in the mosque, everybody says, oh, this is a very, very strong believer. Why? Because he turned his life into horrible. What does it mean? Is it the picture we get from the Quran? Come on, man. Really, it is a crime. It is a crime, real crime. We have to watch out. We have to locate the things in their places. So those, horrible animals of the prophets described in such a way that they will be punished really because they deserve it, because they are already punishing themselves. And also Quran says, this is what you have earned. I didn't do that. I am not doing it. That is what you have earned. You burnt yourself in life, and that is the continuation of your life. What the Quran keeps reminding us that those people who are in hell, that they will be asked, come on, bring your whatever you worshipped, nature, accident, or something, bring it and protect yourself. Feed you. Come on, because you said that accident is feeding me, nature is feeding me, Mother Nature is feeding me. Come on, bring your nature mother nature now, to treat you, to feed you, to make your life comfortable. Come on. That is for others. These are for the people who are addressed to the people of hell, not the people of believers, paradise. Why do you keep narrating these verses, using them that this is for you, as if in the congregation of the believers? Not that we should cheat. You believe in God? That's it. You are saved. Paradise is yours. No, no, no. We make mistakes. We neglect our responsibilities. We are very neglectful, forgetful people. We need reminders, but not threatening reminders. No, asking for forgiveness. And also describing the beauty of paradise and reminding that, look, if you live according to the belief system that you are affiliated with, which is Islam, you will be living such a wonderful life. This source of hope is lost. No one laughs in the masjid. No one comes with a bunch of flower in the masjid. Say, that's my celebration. Why? I am a candidate for paradise. But you are full of mistakes, man. Okay, I am asking for forgiveness. God says, if you make a mistake, turn to me. I will definitely forgive you. So I am hopeful. With this hope, with this hope, with the promise of this hope, this man will be excited and definitely try to correct himself or herself with a hope. This is that is the source of disease of all psychological problems: hopelessness, distress, despair. Be careful. Always say that, oh, my God is the merciful God, forgiving God. I'm not disobeying him. I'm not rejecting him. So he is punishing God. Yes, he must punish those people who don't accept the truth. Yes, everywhere in the world, whoever goes against the values of the civilization, they put them into prison. That is human. But those, they say, law obeying people, citizens, are always rewarded. Yeah, that is very human. So God's religion is the almost is the same. If you make a mistake, you put yourself in prison in this world. In the hereafter, it will be the continuation of your life. It was consequence of your choices. That is your choice. I'm just giving you existence according to what you deserve, not extra. This Quran that assures that the punishment will be 1-to-1, equal. Reward, reward. In the explanation of the Quran itself, 7 times, 700 times, thousands of times, or sometimes it leaves open-ended, like, leave it to my mercy, I will reward it. That's why in Islamic tradition, paradise is the mercy of God. Hell is what we deserve. No one deserves paradise. Just be a candidate for it, to be on its way. We are not expected to reach the end of the way. We are expected to be on the path which goes to God, which goes to paradise, consequently. How about reaching the end? No one is expected. Don't worry about it. But you try your best. That's it. Again, another lecture. I know myself.
MashaAllah, thank you. This was amazing. You're right about the scary tactics, about how the civilization portrays religion. Yeah. Okay, so I know Colin also agrees, basically. Do you want to speak, Colin, about what you wrote? If not, I can read about when you were discussing about those verses, threatening verses. Al-Hayat al-Dunya, the basest existence, the lowest existence is what happens when the world is lived as though the world is all that there is. That is an attitude which needs to be threatened. That is right. Absolutely agree with that. Any comments, words by anyone? But I know, like, Brother Ali, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful reflections. Alhamdulillah. That was amazing in terms of how the felicity, which is everybody's looking for that. And unfortunately, with this second point, or bringing the way, presenting the religion in this way, is a revolution in itself. It's revolutionary, but that's what the human beings are looking for. And we should try that once in a while. I don't know, somebody can try that. Taking flowers and saying, I'm deserving paradise, I'm going to paradise, and see what the consequences are. I'm just kidding. Okay, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Bi hurmati surat al-Fatiha. Thank you, everyone. Inshallah, we'll continue with the third point next time.